I did the same kind that everyone else does in Hollywood. And I didn't want to go on the bandwagon.
Few people realize just how unbelievable Nell Carter's real life was behind the spotlight. Before she became the powerhouse from Ain't Misbehavin' or the face of Gimme a Break, Nell grew up in Birmingham, enduring childhood abuse that left lifelong scars.
And they make you feel like you are the bad person, you have sinned. That stayed on my mind a long time.
She survived a teenage pregnancy and trauma that drove her into years of heavy use. Her addiction led to arrests, financial ruin, public weight shaming, and chaotic relationship scandals that shadowed her career.
And I have no sympathy for anyone who woman. I think no is no.
These tragedies and controversies almost destroyed her, yet they're only the beginning of Nell Carter's real story. Nell Carter was born in Birmingham, Alabama in 1948, the fifth of 9 children. Life in her house was loud, crowded, and often unstable.
Nell Ruth Hardy was born in Birmingham, Alabama on September 13, 1948.
There were moments of love, but there was also pain, and from a young age, Nell learned that surviving was more important than anything else. She was a small girl with a big voice, but before that voice ever made it to a stage, she went through experiences that left deep marks on her. Many fans today say they never knew what Nell faced as a child because she rarely spoke about it. When she did open up later in life, she made it clear that events from her early years changed her forever. She revealed that an older teenager in her neighborhood had taken advantage of her when she was still very young. It happened more than once, leaving her confused, scared, and carrying a private pain she had to hide. She didn't tell her mother at first. Like many children of that era, Nell didn't have the words or the courage to speak up. She felt alone and unsafe, unsure how to explain what had happened to someone she should have been able to trust. Home life did little to ease her struggles. Her family had money problems, and tensions ran high among the adults in the house because of the loss of her father.
She lost her father when she was just a toddler, when he was electrocuted after stepping on a live power line in a field next to their home.
Some siblings were also dealing with challenges of their own, leaving Nell to navigate life largely on her own. She later said she didn't always feel protected. Fans have speculated that she endured both emotional and physical hardship at home. While she never shared every detail, she made it clear that the damage stayed with her. Music became her sanctuary. Singing in church offered her a sense of control and freedom. Neighbors recalled that her voice seemed to light up even the darkest days, giving her a space to be strong, to smile, and to feel herself. It was one part of her life that she could hold on to. As she grew, the weight of secrets and fear shaped her. It made her quiet around people she didn't trust and forced her to grow up faster than she should have. Yet, she still helped at home, attended school, and performed in church, where her talent drew attention. The pain never left her. She simply learned to hide it. Her teen years marked the start of her professional journey. By the late 1960s, Nell was performing in small clubs and cabarets around Birmingham and later Atlanta. She built a reputation for her powerful voice and natural stage presence. People noticed her ability to command attention with humor and charisma, even in informal settings.
Guys, our day will come.
From the age of 6, when Nell stood on the front porch of her home in Birmingham, Alabama, singing Bible hymns, she wanted to be a performer.
Eventually, she moved to New York to chase bigger opportunities. There, she landed minor roles in off-Broadway productions while performing in nightclubs, gradually making connections in the theater world. Her big break came in 1978 when she joined the cast of the Broadway hit Ain't Misbehavin'. Her performance won acclaim and finally put her voice in front of national audiences.
Her early determination led her to Broadway, where she appeared in several shows before winning a Tony for her performance in Ain't Misbehavin'.
Critics praised not only her singing, but also her energy, timing, and ability to connect with an audience. Yet even as her career began to soar, the shadows of her early life, the losses, and the coping mechanisms she had developed followed her. Her childhood was a mix of talent, turmoil, and secrets she buried for years. Those early wounds shaped her teen years, her early career choices, and the battles she would face as she tried to build a life and a legacy. Through it all, her voice remained her anchor, a reminder that even in pain, she could create something extraordinary. As Nell Carter moved into her teenage years, the weight of her childhood started following her everywhere.
That stayed on my mind a long time. And
The early experiences she endured left her with deep emotional scars, even if she never spoke about them publicly at the time. Fans often only saw her bright personality and booming voice, but behind the laughter and the energy, there was a girl struggling with trust, fear, and self-doubt. Some people close to her said that Nell was cautious around others, especially adults. She had learned early that not everyone could be trusted, and this made it difficult to form friendships or feel safe in social settings. Even though nothing was fully documented, all evidence suggests that these experiences left her feeling vulnerable, and that vulnerability often showed up in subtle ways. Nell later admitted that she had a hard time feeling comfortable in new environments, especially when she was away from her family. Despite these small escapes, Nell's emotional pain was persistent. She battled feelings of shame and insecurity that followed her into her teens. Even in her relationships with peers, there was a quiet caution, a hesitation to fully open up. Family life did not provide the support she needed. She was growing up in a home where neglect and dysfunction were common. Some of her siblings were struggling themselves, and her parents were often overwhelmed by their own challenges.
my family, my mother has never been to see me perform. My family is not into nightclubs or theater, and it's almost like wicked to them.
This left Nell without a strong safety net, forcing her to navigate difficult emotions on her own. Longtime friends and collaborators later remarked that even though she appeared confident and bold on stage, there was a layer of fragility that few people ever saw. By the time she reached high school, Nell was already starting to recognize the ways she coped with stress and trauma. She sometimes withdrew into herself, but she also began experimenting with small freedoms like staying out late for performances, seeking approval from mentors, and exploring her independence. These were the first steps of a journey that would eventually lead her into the world of professional entertainment. But the unresolved trauma stayed with her, quietly influencing her decisions. Even though she found moments of joy through music and performing, the pain she carried remained. Anxiety, self-doubt, and emotional turbulence were constant companions, shaping not just how she saw the world, but how she interacted with it. By keeping her struggles largely private, she developed a public persona that was strong and entertaining. Yet behind the curtain, the emotional wounds were still very real. By the late 1960s and early 1970s, Nell Carter's talent was impossible to ignore. She had a voice that could fill a room, and she knew how to command attention with her energy and presence. After years of singing in church and local events in Birmingham, she made the bold decision to pursue a professional career in entertainment. Moving to New York was a huge challenge for a young woman who had grown up in a home with little stability. But Nell's determination was strong, and her talent made people take notice. Her early years in New York were a mix of hope and struggle. She performed wherever she could, clubs, cabarets, and small theater productions, often taking ensemble roles or working as a background singer. Friends and colleagues said she had an unshakable drive and a natural joy for performing. Nell's big breakthrough came in 1978 when she joined the Broadway production of Ain't Misbehavin. The show was a hit, celebrating the music of Fats Waller, and Nell's performance quickly drew critical attention. Reviewers praised her timing, energy, and unmistakable vocal power. She brought humor, warmth, and a magnetic presence to the stage, captivating audiences night after night. Suddenly, the small clubs and ensemble parts of her past were behind her. She was a star in her own right. Yet, behind the applause and accolades, Nell was quietly struggling. The pressures of Broadway, the long hours, intense rehearsals, and high expectations brought stress that her coping mechanisms were not yet ready to handle. She often felt isolated, even surrounded by a cast and crew who admired her. By the early 1980s, her career took a turn toward television. Nell became the star of Gimme a Break, a sitcom that brought her into millions of homes across America. Viewers adored her humor, wit, and occasional musical performances.
Look, I just work here. I'm not related to these people at all.
She became a household name almost overnight. Her timing on screen, combined with her natural charisma, made her beloved by fans and respected by peers. Yet, the transition to television did not erase the personal battles she carried. During this period, her coping mechanisms began to shift. The pressures of fame, combined with unhealed childhood wounds, made her more vulnerable to alcohol and later drugs. At first, they were a way to manage stress and exhaustion. But over time, these habits became more serious. Colleagues noticed subtle changes like missed rehearsals, occasional fatigue, or moments when her focus slipped. Industry insiders later said these early signs were small but important. They were a signal of challenges that would grow over the next decades. Even with these struggles, Nell Carter's talent never faded. Awards, nominations, and public recognition followed, and her voice remained unforgettable. Fans loved her, and her energy on stage and screen inspired countless people. But beneath the spotlight, the combination of unresolved trauma and rising fame created a dangerous mix. This tension between brilliance and personal pain would shape the next chapters of her life. Years marked by addiction, health challenges, and public scrutiny that no applause could fully mask. By the mid-1980s, Nell Carter was a well-known name in entertainment, but her life behind the scenes was becoming increasingly chaotic. Her early coping mechanisms, which had once been small escapes like singing and performing, had evolved into something much more dangerous. Alcohol and became a constant presence in her life. She turned to them to manage stress, to numb old pain, and to feel in control when the world around her felt overwhelming.
But in the second season, Nell started using to relieve the pressures of starring in a weekly television series.
Some people in Hollywood noticed her struggles early on. Even though nothing was publicly confirmed, all evidence suggests that her reputation started to shift during this period. Friends and colleagues described missed rehearsals, moments of erratic behavior, and times when she was simply too exhausted or unwell to perform.
Joe came and got me, wrapped me in my mink coat, put me in a limo, drove me to the basement. I will not tell you which hospital.
Her addiction also caught the attention of the law. In the 1980s, Nell was arrested for possession. The incident made headlines and fueled speculation in the entertainment industry. While the arrest was public record, fans today still debate the full circumstances. Some conspiracy theories reveal that there were other pressures at the time, including conflicts with producers and management, which may have compounded her struggles. Whatever the case, the arrest left a mark on her public image and made producers more hesitant to hire her consistently. Health became another challenge. Long-term substance use took a serious toll. Nell developed brain aneurysm, heart issues, struggled with diabetes, and experienced weight fluctuations that affected both her appearance and her stamina on stage. While her performances remained strong, insiders later said that she had to work twice as hard to maintain the same energy. Some fans argue that these health issues were worsened by her addiction, creating a vicious cycle that made recovery even harder. Despite these obstacles, Nell tried multiple times to get clean. She entered rehabilitation programs on more than one occasion, but relapses were common, and each time she returned to performing, the old patterns re-emerged. Some industry observers noted that the cycle of treatment and relapse is typical for many dealing with addiction. In Nell's case, it was compounded by the pressures of fame and unresolved trauma that had never been addressed in a therapeutic way.
To the basement, I will not tell you which hospital, but it was not Cedars. Put me in an assumed name, and I was in solid until I got well.
Financially, the consequences of addiction were also significant. Treatment costs, legal fees, and inconsistent income drained her savings. Fans later discovered that she sometimes faced precarious financial situations, despite her success on television and Broadway. Even though she had achieved fame, her personal life was filled with instability, and these struggles made it harder to focus solely on her career. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, Nell Carter's life was a mix of brilliance and chaos. Her voice remained unmatched, her stage presence electric, but the pressures of addiction, public scrutiny, and health problems were taking a heavy toll. As Nell Carter's career grew, her personal life also became a steady topic in the press. Her relationships, marriages, and private struggles often made more headlines than her work. For someone with her level of talent, this kind of attention was both unfair and painful, but it became a pattern she couldn't escape. Nell married twice. Her first marriage to George Kronicki in the late 1980s was filled with ups and downs. Friends later said the relationship struggled under the weight of her addiction issues and the pressure of her rising fame. They divorced, got back together briefly, and eventually divorced again. Later, in 1992, she married Roger LaRocque, but that marriage was also short-lived. Insiders said differences in lifestyle, trust issues, and Nell's ongoing battle with and depression made the relationship hard to sustain.
So you have to understand, I had a show with children. I could have lost everything. I jeopardized my marriage, my daughter.
Both marriages showed how difficult it was for her to balance love, recovery, and the demands of the entertainment industry. Nell also had several long-term relationships outside of marriage. Some stayed private, while others quietly fell apart due to the emotional weight she carried from her past. Friends shared that Nell often wanted stability and affection, but struggled with vulnerability. Her childhood trauma, the loss of her teenage child, and years of addiction made it hard for her to trust people fully. This sometimes created misunderstandings, emotional distance, and conflict that partners couldn't always handle. There were also periods where she adopted or raised children on her own, which added pressure. She adopted 2 sons and later gained custody of her niece. Balancing motherhood with her demanding schedule and personal battles wasn't easy. Some reports say that disagreements about parenting, finances, and home life sometimes caused stress in her relationships. Financial difficulties added another layer of drama. Even though she earned well from Broadway, TV, and music, Nell often found herself in financial trouble. Rehab costs, medical bills, legal issues, and lifestyle expenses drained her savings.
Late 1982, Nell hit bottom, and she reached out for help.
There were reports of bankruptcy filings and unpaid debts, though not all details were confirmed. These money problems sometimes led to arguments in her relationships, making already fragile situations even harder. Her public image also played a big role in her struggles. Nell sometimes clashed with co-stars and producers. People in the industry later explained that these conflicts usually came from stress, insecurity, or emotional pain, not from her personality. Still, the media was quick to label her as difficult, and that reputation stuck. Some theories suggested that certain stories were exaggerated or twisted to sell headlines, but nothing was ever proven. Her health kept her in the spotlight as well. She battled brain aneurysm, diabetes, heart issues, and major weight changes. The press frequently commented on her appearance, often in cruel ways. Fans believed this pressure pushed her deeper into substance use, as she tried to cope with judgment and unrealistic expectations. The stress of managing her health, career, and public image all at once made everything else in her life harder to hold together.
Eating disorders, alcohol, and addiction, and other health concerns plagued Carter for years.
Nell was also known for speaking her mind. She shared strong opinions about religion, politics, and social issues. Some loved her honesty, others criticized her for it. Her boldness sometimes created tension with the media, colleagues, and even fans, making her public life even more complicated.
Well, Catholicism get it right. All right. Just brought back memories of it.
Even after her death in 2003, her personal life continued to draw attention. Disputes over her estate appeared in the news, with family members and close associates arguing over money and property. The details were never fully made public, but the conflict showed that the challenges she faced didn't end with her passing. They left a long shadow. Nell Carter passed away in January 2003 at the age of 54, but her story did not end with her death. Her personal and legal struggles continued to make headlines, particularly surrounding her estate. Reports indicated disputes among family members and associates over financial matters, property, and the management of her possessions. Some documents suggest creditors and unpaid bills added another layer of complication. While the full details were never publicly released, the legal wrangling highlighted just how tangled her life had become behind the glamour of Broadway and television.
She had a long-time home where she lived in Beverly Hills, and people think that that's where she passed away, but that's not the case. She was not doing well financially when she passed away.
Her career, however, left a mark that could not be undone. From her breakout in Ain't Misbehavin' to her years on Gimme a Break, Nell's voice and charisma captivated audiences. She earned awards and nominations, including a Tony Award nomination and recognition for her television work. Industry insiders remember her as a performer who could command a stage with effortless charm, even while battling the pressures of fame and personal trauma. Colleagues often recalled her warmth, humor, and generosity off stage, a side of her that the public rarely saw. Legally, her struggles with addiction had tangible consequences. Arrests for possession in the 1980s became public record and contributed to the perception of instability in her personal life. While she repeatedly entered rehabilitation programs, the cycle of relapse and treatment reflected the challenges of dealing with long-term substance use in the public eye. Financial instability, combined with mounting medical bills from diabetes and heart complications, meant that even as she achieved fame, she was often on precarious footing.
She had multiple health complications, addictions, struggles with very, very public. She was a tabloid figure.
Despite these obstacles, Nell's legacy is undeniable. She inspired younger performers and left behind a body of work that continues to resonate.
And Nell Carter was totally one of my idolesses, growing up. So I have to deconstruct her because she was bright.
Nell Carter's story is one of brilliance entwined with struggle. Her career soared, her talent remained extraordinary, and her influence endures. But the legal issues, health struggles, and personal controversies she faced paint a portrait of a woman whose extraordinary life was never simple, whose battles extended beyond the stage, and whose legacy continues to evoke admiration, reflection, and a profound respect for the courage it took to keep performing against the odds.